Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, I hope that you're having a fantastic day and you are ready for some computer and technology news. We have a ton of different articles, topics, things to discuss, including the fact that Netflix is now starting to roll out its Netflix games service and what that means, how that's going to work. We have everything from an update about New World, some NFT, I should say some cryptocurrency scams, stuff like that. Those are always fun to talk about. And then probably one of the largest news stories of the day is that Facebook is, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where you go on Facebook and you upload a picture and Facebook automatically starts tagging people that are in your friend circle or that you may know, and it's kind of creepy. Obviously, it's something that is has been possible for the past 10 years or so, but that feature, that whole system, it looks like Facebook is going to start removing that for over 1 billion users. So find out why and how and who, all of that, we'll have that here shortly. So everyone, welcome into the program, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, show notes, articles, links, podcasts, live video stream, all that and more in our brand new looking website. You can find that there, computeramerica.com. While you're there, follow us on social media. That's the best way to keep up to date with what it is that we do here on the show. And everyone, again, I hope that you're just having a great day. So let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. All right, everyone. So let's go ahead and get started. We have a ton of different fun stories, and it's been a while since we really went into something kind of science and geeky. For the first story of the day. So why don't we go ahead and do just that? And this is going to be about scientists creating a new form of storage. And it makes you wonder, why do we need that? It seems like we have everything good to go. It's all up in the cloud. Hey, who even needs storage anymore? Well, this may be good for long-term storage and a lot of it. Obviously, if it was better in every single way, then we would already have new storage, but this is going to be very applicable to a certain subset of conditions. Let's talk about this. Scientists create a new 5D storage, as they're calling it, and of course, it's RGB, a system that is more than 10,000 times more dense than Blu-rays. So Blu-ray discs, they are very, very dense. You can fit, dozens, if not hundreds of gigabytes. I think they're up to like 5 gig. I mean, there might be like Blu-ray HDs or something like that can fit like up to 1 terabyte. But yeah, so this is going to store a ton of data. So, and they said that scientists say they have created a new storage technology that is 10,000 times more dense than Blu-ray. This coming to us from The Independent, saying that the new 5-dimensional optical data storage is created by using lasers and nanostructuring silica glass, according to the researchers from the University of Southampton. They say that the new findings could be key as the world creates ever more data and struggles with good ways to store it. And it's kind of the truth, and I also feel like the industry as a whole is coming to a little bit of a reckoning where we can store all of this data, but we're finding more and more that if it's not relevant, or if it's not recent, I should say, then it's not relevant. There will always be a need to keep maybe weather patterns, on record so that we can compare things over a long period of time. There may be a reason to keep water sensor readings for the past 40 years or something like that. Ocean tide current buoy nodes, whatever it may be. There may be a reason to keep a lot of these that you would then compare over a long period of time. But by and large, companies are trying to get rid of data just as fast as they produce it because relevant, recent data beats everything. But still, there are going to be situations where we just want to keep data for whatever reason. They mentioned that individuals and organizations are generating ever larger data sets, creating the desperate need for more efficient forms of data storage with high capacity, low energy consumption, and a long lifetime. Fun fact, one of the ways that we stored a lot of data, like this much data before, was the good old-fashioned tape drive. Tape drives were kind of the end-all be-all of super high capacity data that you just didn't really need to read from. Think of things for like national archives, museums, libraries, private organizations that just needed to keep, readings on hand. Tape drives kept on, they were shelf stable if you kept them in a environmentally sound location, and the tape drives could store massive amounts of data. Of course, getting it off, you'd have to go through the entire tape just to, get one thing off, but still, it was a solution. Now, they say that the storage system is not only incredibly dense, but quick, and that is something that we have not seen before, is the ability to pull data off quickly. Not exactly the tape drive's strong suit, even traditional hard drives. Hey, that's why SSDs are becoming the standard, if they already aren't the standard. Now, they say that it can write at 1 million voxels per second, the equivalent of writing more than 100 pages of text per second. I don't know why they decided to say it like that. I mean, I really wish that it was just a traditional read-write speed, but yeah, I guess it's pretty good. Scientists have explored using optical storage in transparent materials before, but it has proven difficult to find a way to do so that is still fast and dense enough to actually be used in the real world. I think the last time we heard about a technology like this, it was about storing data in quartz, and that was super good because they were able to store data in quartz, and that was about longevity, saying that the data could be stored for like 1 billion years in that form. So there's a lot of pieces to storage. Again, read-write speed, be able to get it back off, and of course, density is a huge one, and longevity. How long are these things going to last? Because like tape drives, tapes do actually eventually start to degrade. CDs, of course, can get scratched and they can degrade. This seems to be a pretty good solution that they've come up with. Now, scientists have explored. There we go. Scientists have explored using optical storage in transparent materials before, dense, real world. Scientists overcame that by using a laser that created tiny pits inside of glass. Scientists were able to do so by harnessing an optical trick that let them do so without the heat that is often generated in such research. And that's fairly important. They're able to etch glass without heat. Pretty cool. They said that this new approach improves the data writing speed to a practical level, so we can write tens of gigabytes of data in a reasonable time. So tens of gigs, let's say 50 gigs, in what is a reasonable time? Still doesn't say. So they mentioned that the five dimensions involved in the technology are 2 optical dimensions and 3 spatial dimensions. A paper describing the work is published in Optica, and yeah, it seems like the big breakthrough here was, again, being able to etch the glass with lasers, which they were able to do before, but now they're doing it without the heat generated, so it doesn't take as long. Because obviously, if you heat things up too fast, the whole thing comes crashing down and you lose everything. So there you go. That was very exciting stuff. Obviously, for the end user, you're probably not going to be storing your data in just random pieces of glass. But hey, this could be a solution for national archives, museums, so on and so forth. Someone will find a use for it if they can get it reasonable. Now, that was the first story. The second story, Squid Game. Oddly enough, comes up here often. Who knew? But there was a Squid Game cryptocurrency that you might not have heard about that, collapsed and ran away with $3 million. So here we go. A cryptocurrency inspired by Squid Game successfully enticed enough investors to see its value soar over $2,800 a coin before its creators cashed out and vanished. The cryptocurrency called $Squid, which is not a good investment at this point, which wasn't officially sanctioned by Netflix, launched in late October and rose up to 310,000% in value within just a few days. Now, it was sold supposedly as a way to play an upcoming online game based on South Korean series in which people buried in debt are forced to play a deadly game. Which, if anyone out there had actually seen Squid Game, then they might have realized putting all of your money into a giant pool where only one person gets it in the end might not have been the best idea. Now, at 540, wow, it's been a day. At 5:40 a.m. on Monday morning, the coin's value plummeted to zero. And as I recall, it wasn't just zero; it was it went from like 800, or I guess here in the article it says $2,800 down to 0.0003 cents. That is not a lot of money. Like that. This is one of the fastest rug pulls that we have ever seen. Now, they said that its website disappeared and its Twitter account got blocked. As Gizmodo explained, its creator staged what's called the rug pull, and the scammers may have made off with as much as $3.38 million. There were multiple signs that the cryptocurrency was a scam from the start. People merely missed or ignored them, perhaps due to the promise of the popularity of the Netflix show. Obviously, yeah, there's going to be a lot of hype around such a brand new show. Its website was riddled with spelling and grammatical errors, and as Gizmodo pointed out, people were able to buy coins but weren't allowed to sell them. So, and again, they promised that, as with most of these NFT and cryptocurrency scams, there's always another project behind it. You know, it's not just about the coin itself, the NFT itself. It's about, these are assets for this game coming out. These are assets for this movie coming out. These are assets for this social network coming out. It's always tied to a bigger project to really think that, it's not just value for value's sake. It's buying into this idea that there's more to it. And this one just happened to take the Squid Game hype and ride it out. So they're saying that while some may be legit, those interested in investing in them will have to keep an eye out for signs of fraud. Just earlier this year, a cryptocurrency based on The Mandalorian turned out to be a scam as well. So clearly, scammers know that they can... decide, we can take trends, hype, whatever it may be, turn it into an NFT, turn it into a cryptocurrency, and just through name recognition alone, we can turn this into money. Now, obviously, the article is going to be a little bit light. It's from Engadget. They, kind of surface level stuff. I can almost guarantee that probably a good portion of that money came from the scammers themselves. They put up a website, they put up a Twitter account, and did the bare minimum they needed to get a cryptocurrency up and running and onto the exchanges. And then they probably said, pushed it out to their own little groups on Discord or wherever it is that they kind of organize these rug pools. They said, the amount of money that you can make from this is going to be great. People put in their $10, $15, $20, $100,000, whatever money they're willing to lose. And then I guess in this case, everyone was destined to lose because they couldn't sell anything. But yeah, they put the money in, and then I'm sure that the scammers put in their 1 million. And as soon as it went from, a project that was worth maybe $5,000 or $6,000, and then suddenly was worth $1,005,000. Yeah, that the big green percentages that say that this thing just increased by, 1,000,000% is going to entice people to put in their $15, $20, $100 in hopes that they will jump yet again. FOMO, fear of missing out. It's a powerful force. And for anyone out there doing cryptocurrency or NFTs, be careful because scammers know it, and they're going to pull stuff like this constantly. It's just kind of the nature of the industry. So there's that one. Let's see. Did not mean to close that. Okay. So for this next story, we can actually do cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency. Okay. I think we're not going to do this one. There's another cryptocurrency. The name of the cryptocurrency itself is a little inappropriate for radio, so I don't feel like doing it. But it's another scam where the owners made off with about $300,000 on yet another one. And by the way, it's monkey related. So there's something about this whole, kind of apes, monkeys kind of thing, almost like a troupe, that really just brings people together. Just the imagery of a group of monkeys all doing the same thing really gets them. Okay. This was a story from yesterday. Didn't get a chance to do it, so wanted to do it today. Check this out. China had their own version of Fortnite. And for those who don't know, Fortnite was super popular and, still is. But it looks like the Chinese version, they weren't able to monetize it. I can only imagine from China's video game regulations that they recently announced. So check this out. Fortress Knight. So not Fortnite, but Fortress Knight. So creative. The Chinese version of the popular game Fortnite is to close later this month, saying that Epic Games, which owns Fortnite, has so far provided no reason for the decision to close the online shooter game. An announcement said that the game, which has been available in China as a test for 2 years, would come to an end on the 15th of November. Obviously, China has set strict limits on the time that children can play. For those who haven't been keeping track, they can play, I think it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, between the hours of like 8 and 9 p.m. So they don't even get to choose which 3 hours a week that they get to play video games. It is those 3 hours or nothing else. So yeah, I can imagine that that's a very hostile environment to try to bring a video game to, where your target audience just can't even legally play. They said that the last player standing style combat game stopped new signups on the 1st of November, which was yesterday, and the announcement said 2 weeks ahead of the planned shutdown. The game was originally launched in China in 2018 in cooperation with Tencent. Many Western games need to be significantly altered for the Chinese market, both for regulatory reasons and cultural ones. For those who have not seen some of the censorship, it's a whole rabbit hole that I encourage you to go down. Some of the fun things are, because I play WoW a lot, one of the things that I know is that there's like this Frankenstein kind of laboratory where they kind of chop up bodies and put them back together. And in the Chinese one, obviously you're not allowed to show bone. You're not allowed to show kind of blood and gore and body parts missing. So how they got around that was that they turned all of the body parts and all the bones into hunks of bread, and they put giant abominations of bread throughout that particular area. Little things like that clearly it's not just blurring things out or making things a little bit different. No, you have to go back to the art assets of the game itself and really make it work. Now, they said that Fortress Knight includes a number of changes from the original Fortnite, including measures aimed at limiting the time players spend on the game, as well as having no microtransactions to buy extra in-game items with real money. You know, I kind of wish that we had some of those. Getting a little sick of microtransactions, but hey. In August, China's video game regulator announced that the under 18s would be restricted to only an hour on Fridays, weekends, and holidays. The government has long been concerned about the time that their young people have been playing video games, and that, of course, includes this notion that video games are quote-unquote spiritual opium. So, bad stuff. So they declined to comment, and Epic Games wrote, "Thank you to all the Fortnite China players who have ridden the battle bus with us to participate in the beta." So it went from beta to not even launching. It's pretty incredible. But of course, it shows just how hard of a market it is that that China has become. For a number of reasons, either through itself or just the fact that they are pretty exclusionary from the get-go. And we have another article touching on that. In particular, a company that I am still surprised I'm talking about, Yahoo. So let's go ahead and jump on over to that one. Seems like a good segue. Yahoo is the latest company to pull out of China for good. You can see that there. This is coming to us from CNN Business and Jordan Walensky saying that Yahoo has shut down access to its services in China, becoming the latest American tech company to exit the country. And of course, it said that it pulled the plug in recognition of the increasingly challenging business and legal environment. And that's from a Yahoo spokesperson, saying that Yahoo remains committed to the rights of our users and to a free and open internet. We thank our users for their support. Now, let's cut through the PR corporate virtue signaling we got going on here. China's been doing a lot of bad stuff, and if there was something to, and when I say China, again, I kind of mean the Chinese government, not so much the people. I'm sure the people are just as, I'm sure people are like people everywhere else in the world. It's just they're a little bit more beholden to their government than, places like the US and Europe and what have you. But still, when China had confirmed forced labor camps and re-education camps for its Muslim population, when China has been proven to do slave labor, when they've proven to be polluting on a much greater scale, when they've proven so many different ways that they have been morally reprehensible, Yahoo was okay with that. But now, just lately, that's when it's been an issue. So they said, in recognition of increasingly challenging business and legal environment. And I think that's more the key. They, financially, they just could not support themselves in China. They just did not become part of the Chinese market like they were hoping that they would, like they are here in the US one. So yeah, they're going to virtue signal on their way out, saying, yeah, we're leaving, but it's not because we didn't turn a profit, it's because they're no good. So access to many of Yahoo's features in China have disappeared since 2013, including email and news. In 2015, Yahoo closed its Beijing's office and eliminated about 300 jobs. So Yahoo joins Microsoft's LinkedIn social network, which announced last month that it would leave China because of significantly more challenging operating environment and greater compliance requirements in China. So clearly, LinkedIn was canceled because I'm sure there was more oversight by the Chinese government. Operating in China has long posed numerous challenges for private companies, but the Chinese President Xi Jinping has orchestrated a sweeping regulatory crackdown on the tech, education, gaming, and entertainment industries in recent months that has wiped a huge amount of market value off of China's biggest firms. So yeah, they saw this coming. They're okay with it. And by them, I mean the president of China is okay with it because they see the positives outweighing the negatives. Don't get me wrong. Some things that China has been doing are no-brainers and everyone should do, like gambling for real money in video games that are targeted towards kids. That's kind of an obvious one. But then there are other areas where, you know, it's you just can't agree with it. But hey, that is the control that the Chinese government has over its industries. It's their way, or you don't get a business license and you stop doing business altogether. So, the country's latest 5-year plan includes promises to strengthen rules that would clamp down on monopolistic behavior and regulate technological innovation. So, you know, technological innovation, one would assume that that'd be a good thing, but regulate it? Okay. And, I mean, even here in America, people would like to regulate monopolistic tendencies, but we haven't really figured that one out either. Now, they say that authorities also called on law enforcement to take action in areas of vital interest of people, including financial services, education, and tutoring. Yahoo was once among the biggest tech firms in the world, but its influence drastically diminished over the past decade. And, of course, the latest turn for Yahoo is that it was recently bought by Apollo Management Group from Verizon as part of a $5 billion deal. Before that, I'm pretty sure Verizon purchased Yahoo for like, what was that, 30 billion or 25 billion, whatever it was. It was a pretty big loss for Verizon, and they were happy to spin it off. The company was once an early investor in Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba. Several years later, Yahoo returned $3 billion to shareholders after selling back half of its massive $7.1 billion stake in Alibaba. So there you go. There have been ties before, but it looks like at this point, Yahoo just said, not really worth our time anymore. And let's face it, from what Yahoo once was, I'm sure that their time is spread pretty thin nowadays. So there you go. Okay, so that is that article. Let's move off of China, move off that kind of stuff. How about... Okay, how about a modder? So, the thing about Nintendo, in particular, and this has everything to do with this case here, they don't really do re-releases of their games very well. If you want to play old versions of their video games, you either have to buy it through their online store. You know, you can't play it on the phone for sure. If you want to play old Nintendo games, you either have to have the console itself and the cartridge from 25 years ago, or you have to hope that they bring it to their to the Nintendo store and you have their hardware. Well, looks like someone tried to take it into his own hands and was found guilty. A modder pleads guilty to piracy charges, will pay Nintendo $4.5 million. It's pretty crazy. You can see the SX core device soldered to a Nintendo Switch motherboard there, which I'm sure would be this brown popsicle stick looking thing. Yep. And they show some of the parts and the hardware. Essentially, you could edit or add onto your existing Nintendo Switch, and through this little cartridge that would plug into the USB port, you could play emulated Nintendo games on a modded Nintendo Switch. That seemed to be the goal of the whole thing. Now, Gary Bowser will plead guilty to 2 federal felony charges related to his work with Team Executor, the maker of the SX line of Switch modding devices, and other tools Bowser now admits were... This guy's name is Gary Bowser, and he ran afoul of Nintendo. Sticking to his villain roots, I guess. Who knew? He now admits were predominantly and primarily designed to allow purchasers to play pirated ROMs. So Bowser, a 51-year-old Canadian national who went by the handle Gary OPA online, was arrested last year in the Dominican Republic before being extradited to the United States. The government is still seeking the extradition of the French national Max Laurent, who was arrested in Tanzania at the same time as Bowser. So Tanzania and Dominican Republic for two Canadian nationals. Clearly, they took it on the lam. Bowser pleaded guilty to 2 of the 11 felony counts against him relating to trafficking in circumvention devices and conspiracy to do the same. Combined, the 2 charges come with a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison, and in exchange, prosecutors have agreed to drop the other 9 charges. That's pretty crazy. So, in the plea documents that were obtained by Torrent Freak, Bowser admits that he knowingly and willfully participated in the cyber criminal enterprise that hacked leading game consoles and that developed, manufactured, marketed, and sold a variety of circumvention devices that allowed the enterprise customers to play pirated versions of their video games. Dating all the way back to June 2013. So this guy's been getting away with it for over 8 years. Pretty crazy. Now, the plea goes on to admit that the enterprise attempted to cloak its illegal activity with a purported desire to support homebrew enthusiasts who wanted to design their own games. But the predominant and primary design of the enterprise products was to allow purchasers to play pirated ROMs. And you can even see an example of the website that they have here. They have, of course, very, very popular games like Tom Clancy's Ghost, Stardew Valley. Just kind of looking at the very pixelated image here. Starlink, they had Splatoon 2. I mean, they have name brand games that are uploaded and cracked that you can just download for free. But again, the cover story was that everything was for homebrew, was for the individual game designer and developer. So when Nintendo released the new Switch hardware designed to thwart those efforts, they made new devices that could be soldered onto the Switch's internal circuit board. And in addition, the SX OS devices surreptitiously access Nintendo servers and online gaming ecosystem without authorization, making use of the servers that Nintendo maintained to facilitate internet connectivity and to authenticate the use of genuine Nintendo software. At this point, it is almost impossible to plead that you are simply making a device for random people to make random games, because it can be shown that your devices hack or alter existing Nintendo Switches. That's not a happy accident. That has to be very purposely done, to solder it onto the motherboard. And then the fact that they were able to access the servers that Nintendo runs. I mean, all that together, it's really a no-brainer why they signed this plea, this plea bargain. It is 100% purposeful how they did this. So according to the plea document, the success of the devices like the Gateway 3DS, Stargate, True Blue Mini, Classic to Magic, and the SX OS line depended primarily on the availability of pirated ROMs. He said that they created and supported ROM libraries for its customers to use through websites like maxconsole.com and others, saying that, quote, "I am going to be busy setting up the underground stuff. The ROM packs, cover arts, emulators on Max Console forums that will also help on Gray's side of the device for those wishing to play more than original SNES cartridges." And that is an email that they quote in the core documents, saying, quote, "We have a plan in the works to have secure links to these retro ROM packs on a protected server, so it will not be a problem," end quote, is what they had in another email. So let's talk about sales. Obviously, the $4.5 million is what the settlement eventually became. And So let's go and wrap this up here. They said that With the team, they generated at least tens of millions of dollars of proceeds from device and software sales since 2013. He estimated that he personally made only about $300,000 from direct payments by team executor and advertising sales on various websites he controlled. Despite the small cut, Bowser has agreed to pay $4.5 million to Nintendo to make up for part of what the document says is between $65 million and $150 million in total losses from copyright infringement enabled by this, by this charge. The penalty is in addition to the $750,000 in fines that will be imposed directly during sentencing. And by the way, Bowser still faces a civil lawsuit from Nintendo. There's your headline. The criminal lawsuit over, Bowser now faces civil lawsuit from Nintendo. That should be it right there. But yeah, it's so just over $5 million is what he's going to be forced to pay. If he can afford that, who the heck knows the state of his finances. Now, when they say things like $65 million and $150 million in total losses from the copyright infringement, it's kind of like pirating, and by kind of, I mean it's exactly like pirating. That's assuming that one pirated movie equals one ticket sale or one DVD sale. But let's face it, when it comes to pirating, because something is free, you're going to download, you're going to be more impulsive in your downloads. You're just going to grab things kind of randomly. One download does not mean one missed sale, or I should say one illegal download does not mean one missed sale. The actual effect it has, which has been studied pretty well, is that pirating does not necessarily affect video game sales one way or the other. In fact, in some ways, it actually does help them because it's almost like advertising. And if it's good enough, then they'll go back and buy the legitimate thing in itself. Otherwise, if they were on the fence, if they, even if they had access to it otherwise, they probably weren't going to pay for it to begin with. So I would have argued that, the $65 million and $150 million in losses probably didn't occur, but hey, I'm not their legal counsel, and there's no actual way to know just how much money that they lost. They can just say, here's how many times games were downloaded through this company, multiply that by $60 to $70 a game, and those are the total losses. But still, it's not often you hear about people who make these things actually going to prison. It's usually done pretty hush-hush, and in those groups, it's hard to actually find people. As you heard, being in the Dominican Republic and the other random part of the world, they tend to travel to try to get away from law enforcement. So there's that. Okay. We have plenty of time. Let's do this before we run out of time. Facebook, the biggest story of the day, hands down, or I should say face down. Facebook shuts down massive photo tagging facial recognition program. And this is a big one. Saying that Facebook is shutting down the photo tagging facial recognition program that was key to its product for years and is deleting more than 1 billion quote-unquote face prints of users. That's according to a blog the company posted on Tuesday. I guess the concerning part is why? Why would they do this? What product what sentient killer robot did Facebook finally finish that they can get rid of the facial recognition software so no one knows exactly how this war machine was built? It's scary, but let's continue. Now, quote, "We're shutting down the face recognition system on Facebook," said Jerome Presenti, VP of Artificial Intelligence on Facebook, saying that as part of this change, people who have opted in to our face recognition setting will no longer be automatically recognized in photos and videos, and we will delete the facial recognition template used to identify them. Specifically, the VP is referring to Facebook's photo tagging system, which automatically identified a user and their friends in photos that they uploaded to the platform and suggested that they be tagged in the photos. For years, photo tagging was a core Facebook feature and was one of the main things people did on Facebook, which was to tag a photo. You put up a photo, even if it wasn't the person's face in particular, you could still tag them as almost like a mention on Twitter. Now, they say that this then added to the photo to your friend's page of tagged photos and allowed them and their friends to comment on them, cementing Facebook as one of the main places people uploaded photos online. Because, then it would be shared on both pages, not just the one who uploaded it. Now, while photo tagging was manual at first, in 2010, Facebook began automatically detecting who was in a photo by comparing new photos to photos that were already uploaded of that person. Essentially, you tag a person's face, and then, of course, Facebook, over just, a very, very short time, was able to identify that, this is probably Ben, based on a number of different parameters. Now, they said that the facial recognition technology made it much easier to tag photos. It was also seen as very creepy by a lot of users and civil liberty experts, as Facebook automatically opted users into the program and used existing photos of them to build a database of face recognition templates. Which, honestly, that's one of the biggest, creepiest things that Facebook ever did, was to put these templates and just scan everyone. Now, they said that face recognition became so embedded in Facebook's design that it became a core security feature. If a user tried to log into Facebook from an unrecognized computer, they would be presented with a randomly tagged photo of their friends and would have to correctly identify who was in the photo. It also eventually began notifying people who were in the photos that they weren't tagged in. There you go. I'm sorry, notifying people who were in photos that they weren't tagged in. So, secret photo, but it's like, this photo's of you, but you're not tagged in it. Is that okay? Pretty weird. So the move away from facial recognition in this specific instance, following a growing movement against the technology, is laudable and represents the end of one of the largest face recognition systems ever created. And of course, Facebook has just under 3 billion daily users. But Facebook said it will still see facial recognition technology as a powerful tool for preventing fraud and impersonation. And as they wrote on Monday, the company is still trying to monetize basic human activity through its metaverse plans. We covered that yesterday. Facebook also told the New York Times that it is not getting rid of Deepface, the software that powers its facial recognition system. And why would they? Like, of all the value that Facebook may have, being able to automatically tag people in photos is the smallest part of why they're doing this. That is a end user convenience that is nifty but creepy. So they did away with it. But the system that has been trained for over 10 years on billions of faces, that is worth a lot of money. That is something unprecedented. Maybe only Google, with all of its YouTube videos and whatnot, maybe only Google would have something as comparable to this. And it sounds like they've trained it well enough. Like, honestly, that seems like what it is. Deepface is no longer, really needed further data is no longer really needed for Deepface to do what it needs to do behind the scenes. Whether or not they sell that to government agencies, whether or not they use it for their own purposes, the technology is not going anywhere. It's just the user convenience associated with it seems to be ending. Any step away from facial recognition is definitely a good thing. It's not a complete dismantling of the system, which is unfortunate to hear. But again, any step back from facial recognition is something that should be, good. Now, what's also important to recognize is that Facebook's core product has long de-emphasized the mass uploading of photos and has moved towards sharing of news and statuses that can be endlessly bickered about in the newsfeed. Facebook has also become so bloated that it can be difficult to even find your own photos, and Instagram is now Facebook's photo-specific app. So what we have here is a move that comes only after Facebook spent more than a decade mining faces of a large percentage of the humans on planet Earth to help its own growth and power, and only comes after the platform itself has evolved past the need for this type of technology. Again, I don't think they've evolved past the need for it, but the technology is done. It's ripe. It's ready to harvest. Whatever need it may be, maybe people will be able to, or companies will be able to feed cameras or pictures of the population into their system, and they'll be able to recognize who was in their stores, where they went, that kind of thing. There's a lot of possibilities for what they could do with a system like this, and it sounds like it's just done. It's not, it doesn't need to be trained anymore. So there you have it. A little bit good, a little bit of bad, but still, that is a huge shift for what Facebook is. Okay, that was story number. Oh, there we go. That was story number 6. We're making good time. Story number 6, story number 7. Let's go ahead and talk about this with Netflix. Why not? New service launching. What is it? How's it work? I'm actually interested in this as well. And they say that Netflix Games starts a global rollout on Android with iOS on the way. And as I understand it, this is going to be specifically for Netflix style games, or games produced by Netflix. Not that you'll get any game that you want with a monthly subscription fee and play them anywhere, like you can with the movies and the streaming service. No, it's more just for their own thing. They said that ever since the announcement, Netflix was pursuing gaming content for its billion-dollar entertainment mega streaming platform. It was a matter of time before you could actually play games from the Netflix app. And, well, these things are here. Users will be able to choose from one of 5 games currently, so their launch is just 5 games. 2 Stranger Things games, Shooting Hoops, Card Blast, and Teeter Up. Starting today, users can download Netflix games from the Google Play Store, requiring a Netflix subscription to play. Then on November 3rd, they will begin rolling out games to the app itself. When on a mobile device, Netflix games will come packaged in its own dedicated row and dedicated tab. Honestly, not that surprising, considering that, a lot of content people, like let's take Riot Games for instance, that makes League of Legends. They started to, they have put out, I believe the show's called Arcana or something like that, where they're putting out TV shows. You have video games that are putting out movies. You have books that are putting out songs. You have all of this cross-pollination. Essentially, if you get a foot in the door, then you're going to try to spread your influence as much as you can. And don't even get me started on movies becoming video games, because those are very hit and miss, but they exist. Netflix has been developing its own mobile game feature for a while, testing the service in Poland, Spain, and Italy. Right now, only Android devices can take advantage of the gaming offerings, but they have iOS support coming on the way soon. So if you are Android, then you can play this starting tomorrow. Pretty cool. And I don't know how good the games are going to be, but clearly it's something that they've been working on for a while now. And let's face it, it might just be advertising for some of their existing titles. Okay, there's that one. How about Amazon's New World? Maybe it's just the circles I run in, but Amazon New World has a few issues. I was really excited. It looked like a great game. I know that a lot of people were happy to see it, but then you ran into issues where, for instance, there's glitches and bugs, including gold duping and item duping or duplicating. Really ruins a game's economy, and in an MMO where, let's face it, the ongoing economy is really important. That's a bad thing. And then, of course, you have things like invincibility and more. So let's find out more about this. They mentioned that, still Amazon's long-delayed New World has played host to some surprising bugs, security issues, and exploits in recent weeks. This weekend, reports started filtering in from players who had discovered how to insert and process their own HTML code inside the chat box. And that's apparently thanks to some improper input scrubbing, which, ladies and gentlemen, always sanitize your inputs. Yeah. They said that this resulted in some amusing visual trolling, as players could use specific HTML to spam giant pictures of in-game sausages or even display large yellow boxes above their characters to block the other player's in-game view. Other trolling was more severe, like gold duplication exploits and HTML code that could crash the game if a player hovers over a certain bit of text. Yeah, that's a pretty big one. On Friday, New World Community Manager posted that the team had just discovered an issue where players were able to post images and other links in the chat that resulted in unsavory behavior, and they have enabled a fix that should resolve the issue and prevent players from abusing the exploit, from exploiting this feature. Other problems deal more directly with in-game economic systems not functioning as designed, and saying that players were reportedly failing to receive gold from trading post sales, and saying that we're currently testing a fix that they will deploy soon. So let's talk about some of these. One of them, as with any video game that you test your skill, you build up your character, you get new equipment, you invest all this time, money, and resources into it, and turns out, hey, someone found a way to actually, become invincible. Earlier in October, a particular YouTuber demonstrated that New World players could become effectively invulnerable if they clicked and dragged the location of the game window on their local machine. Though the damage would register as soon as the game window stopped moving, players could still use the exploit to camp indefinitely on PvP capture points, gaining massive advantage. Okay, so that one is so weird. If they clicked and dragged the location of the game window on their local machine, the damage would register as soon as it stopped moving. So as long as you clicked the header and just kind of moved it around in a slow circle or fast circle, whatever, your character would become invincible for the duration that you move the window around. That is one of the weirdest glitches I have ever heard of. That is so weird. Now, they said that particular oversight was fixed a few weeks later with patch 1.0.4, which the patch notes said fixed several known causes of players being invulnerable, saying that, but those notes also suggest that they were only beginning work on addressing issues causing invulnerability and are continuing to track down fixes for additional causes of the issue. Some have pointed to this invulnerability bug as evidence that Amazon was giving the game client authority over the server, a big security no-no in online game design. Which, honestly, if you, that's why people get so frustrated with certain video games. That's especially in, let's take like shooting games, for instance. On your screen, you're hidden, you're covered, you shoot them first, whatever. And it comes back, the server, whatever your inputs are sent to the server, your opponent's inputs are sent to the server, and then it's bounced back, who's ever got there first, whatever happened first. On your screen, they're dead. On the server, they shot you first, and you're dead. And that's very, very frustrating. But that's the way online games have to be. You have to account for ping, you have to account for a lot of things, and it's more stress on the servers. It's a little frustrating for the end user, but it is the most fair in a lot of ways. When you let your local machine take over, and send commands to the server, that means that you can do a lot of weird things that the server has to wait, it has to acknowledge, it has to, it can be overwritten by the game clients of every individual. And that's very weird. They said, but they shot that down in an extended post that goes into some technical detail on what's happening here, saying that we did have a bug in which, given certain circumstances, we were waiting server side on input from a client before processing through to outcomes. Combined with an intentional weapon effect that allows for brief invulnerability, this created a situation where players could reach an invulnerable state and prolong it by making the client unresponsive. Even though the client has no say in damage, this was particularly bad bug given our server-based simulation, and we apologize for that. We corrected the bug in code the same day we learned about it, then tested to make sure nothing unintended came out of those changes. So there you go. Now, despite those fixes, there's plenty of known issues in New World, including a few that only popped up since the last patch, and yeah. The player base, whoever remains in New World, it's the longevity of an MMO depends on kind of the stability of how well they can keep the game. And they even linked to a particular article that, let's see, this was posted just about a week ago, saying that their numbers have dropped from about 900,000 concurrent players, and about 500,000 players have left New World in less than a month. And while it's possible that server issues, bugs, and lack of any real story or character building may be putting people off, it's just as likely that they may return once these issues are sorted out. So there you go. It's kind of questionable. A lot of these issues, if you allow botting or gold duping or invulnerability and bugs to kind of run your game, no one's going to invest time into an MMO like that, and your player base is going to suffer. So I hope they get sorted out. Again, it looks like a very cool game. I honestly would still consider playing it, but with some of the bugs, I mean, what's kind of the point if no one's playing on a level playing field? So there you go. Okay, we have time for just one more story. Let's get a little more rumors about Apple's latest headset. And looks like at this point it's all but confirmed that Apple is doing this. They said that Apple's first headset will focus on high-quality games, a reporter claims. So, they said that also an analyst says that the headset will support Wi-Fi 6E. So, the Wi-Fi 6E, what the heck is that? So, I know what Wi-Fi 6 is the AX standard. If you're still going by 802.11ax, that must be the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi bandwidth here. Let's say this is an article from last year. And so 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi can go a long way towards solving that problem. It offers not just a new swath of airwaves for routers to use, but a spacious swath that doesn't require overlapping signals. So I guess it's like the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth that pretty much everything, including the microwave, uses. The 5 gigahertz, which is very, very strong, but very, very local. And then it looks like even more so, the 6 gigahertz will operate on a similar bandwidth, but I'm sure it will have a lot of the same limitations that the 5 gigahertz has to deal with. So there you go. We can cover more of that in a bit, but still, they said that reporter Mark Gurman says that the new headset will feature advanced chips, displays, and sensors that will have avatar-based features. There you go. That latter point indicates that Apple has a similar vision for how headsets could be used to that of Meta, whose CEO Mark Zuckerberg has been declaring a vision of social interconnectedness through AR and VR experiences. Apple seems to finally be putting out another product, and it makes a lot of sense. The technology used in their phones and tablets, I'm sure, translates very, very well into a portable headset, whether that be AR or VR. So they write that Apple's first headset will be a mixed reality one, supporting both AR and VR. The long rumored consumer AR glasses will come much later, and you could think of things like Google Glass if you were wondering what augmented reality could be. So yeah, and I'll pass on that. I think that a lot of people will at first. I mean, a lot of people passed on the limited release of Google Glass, but once it becomes useful, it's going to be hard to pass on. But still, there are lots of people with, eye problems and, nausea, motion sickness that will unfortunately find this technology very detestable. So, hey, we'll know more in the future, but it's exciting to see more and more people coming to terms with this and trying to use this. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the chat, on the website, social media, podcasts, radio, IRN. Thank you so much. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.